Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
We're following a developing story for you tonight out of Moorhead. One man has been arrested after police say he stole something from a local store and took off running. Police say at one point in the chase, the man jumped into the Red River to get away from officers. He was caught a short time after that. Police would not say what was stolen or which store it was stolen from. The man was taken to a hospital to be treated and will eventually be booked into the Clay County Jail.
He fled on foot, and officers were in the area trying to find him. He ultimately was found again and ran to the river where he then jumped in the river.
Police say there is no threat to the public. The man's name has not been released yet.
We use code words, and that really helped to provide the kids a lot of comfort in knowing who was at the door and what was happening.
An 11-year-old girl in Arizona dodged a possible kidnapping by simply asking the would-be kidnapper for the code word. The man tried to lure her away by saying her brothers were in a bad accident and that she needed to get into his SUV. But once she asked the man for the code word that she had set up with her family, he didn't know it and drove away. Valley News Team's Maddie Gelseth explains what you should tell your children if they find themselves in a similar situation.
The world's not as safe as it used to be, sadly enough.
That's why parents tell me teaching their children at a young age about staying away from strangers is important.
Anything to teach your kids about, who is safe, who's not. Identifying with your child who those safe people are, I think, when they're really little is important.
Parents say they teach their child to yell and scream if they don't feel comfortable, or to just ignore them.
If there's someone you don't know, just don't talk to him, or tell an adult if they're trying to bribe you or something.
Some even learn to fight back.
Anybody walks up to you, poke them in the eyes if they're being suspicious to you or something, talking to you.
Self-defense is a great way to protect yourself and others in scary situations, especially if your life depends on it.
A lot of times you teach them manners, you don't hit people and stuff like that, and that's definitely important. However, you also need to teach them that if someone's doing something that isn't okay, then all bets are off, and it is okay to do those things to get away.
Get away and tell an adult about what happened so they can contact the police and find that suspicious person. Reporting in Fargo, Maddie Gelseth, Valley News Live.
Police also recommend that parents do not personalize their kids' items like backpacks because when strangers know kids' names, it helps them come across as friendly and trustworthy. The investigation into the death of a former Lake Park police chief continues in Becker County. The Becker County Sheriff's Department says the shooting happened Saturday around 6 in the evening on a logging trail just northeast of Detroit Lakes. 53-year-old Jay Nelson was found in a vehicle with a gunshot wound in West Sugar Bush Township, about half a mile east of Yellowhead Trail and half a mile west of Little Flat Lake. The Sheriff's Department is now asking for anyone who was hunting in the area at that time to come forward. Authorities have not identified a suspect yet. Stick with us as we continue to learn new information. On the plus side, we saw sunshine today and little to no wind. On the downside, well, let's let Hutch get into that. Hutch?
Downside? No, it does look really cold tonight, but indeed, a little bit of sunshine sure felt nice. A look at our Dakota Magic Casino camera down at the South Dakota border and some beautiful magenta colors in the setting sun. There are some clouds out there and a few flakes are falling from time to time, but look at these temperatures. Clear skies and lighter winds will allow us to slide away. Many of us will see temperatures slip into the lower single digits as we go through the overnight hours. The wind should decrease. That's also some more good news, Andrea, and I have even more good news on top of that. In the extended forecast here, Hutch's Blobcast shows that big old blue and pink blob of cold air is exiting stage right. I'll have details on a long-awaited warm-up here in just a few moments.
Yes, it was the cold that I was alluding to.
I figured as much. Yes, it was.
Thanks, Hutch. A Mandan police officer who shot a man has been cleared of any wrongdoing. Officials say the Morton County State's Attorney's Office will not be filing charges against Officer Leo Bellegarde in regard to a shooting last month. Authorities say they were trying to arrest 26-year-old Jared Galusha on October 9th for warrants when he drove a vehicle in the direction of officers. Bellegarde fired 2 shots. One of them hit Galusha. Galusha survived. Earlier, he said he was shot once in the back and once in the rib cage. Galusha has been charged with reckless endangerment and attempting to elude a police officer. Officials have confirmed that the owner of Brainerd International Raceway died after falling overboard from a yacht in Florida. It happened yesterday. Authorities responded to the Sanibel Causeway on reports of owner Jed Copham falling overboard. After an extensive search that went late into the night, the 46-year-old's body was recovered this morning. The investigation is ongoing. The Tom's Shoe Repair in Fargo is announcing its final day to pick up items before they throw them out. People can stop in at the Travel Lodge in Moorhead from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on November 19th to pick up their personal items. Rebecca Noor, the owner of Tom's Shoe Repair in Fargo, says they still have 40 to 45 40-gallon containers filled with shoes, coats, purses, and more that need to be returned to customers. And they'll get a last chance to get their items back before the cutoff date, which is December 7th. That's when they'll start tossing items that have not been claimed or not had arrangements made for them. When it comes to early snow seasons, North Dakota and Minnesota rarely disappoint. And once again, we find ourselves ankle deep in an early winter. So how does this affect our psyche? Valley News Team's Rose Itzkovitz has more on how the cold and dark wear us down and tells us ways to beat the early winter blues.
It was like fall, really nice, and then boom, snow everywhere. But yeah. I mean, it's North Dakota, so.
Remember just a few weeks ago, we were complaining about the 40-degree weather?
Snow is pretty usual around these parts.
Well, we blinked, and suddenly anything above freezing doesn't sound so bad.
We're inside more, we're not getting that vitamin D. It has an impact on our mood and just on our health in general.
Most of us have heard about seasonal affective disorder and how the early dark and cold can pay their toll.
We spend way more time in the dark, and so that has a really big impact.
But an earlier winter can cause even more stress, as we need more prep time just to get out the door.
So it takes longer to get places. We have to drive slower. We need to give ourselves more time. We have to bundle up in more layers. It just has that impact and adds stress.
You have to get to school earlier because there's so much ice, and then parking spots are limited, and so that's already like, I'm so dead tired.
So what can we do? Integrated health therapist Alana Danderen says keeping up the exercise and balanced diet helps.
If we're missing that warmth or we're missing, our mood's having a hard time, we might do like a heated blanket. Or if you have a fireplace, spend some time just feeling warm and cozy in front of the fireplace.
I'm a big fan of hot tea. I grab myself a nice book and curl up under some warm blankets.
But interestingly enough, I found at least one mom who says the early winter takes away her stress.
Everything I'm allergic to is not around, and so I like that.
Which is why she advises
trying focusing on the positive things, the things that you like to do in the winter. I mean, whether you like it or not, the day's still going to be there, and so just try to embrace the good parts of the day, maybe extra time with your kids snuggling at home.
But Danderen says if that early winter is impeding your functioning,
that's when it's time to come talk to your doctor, come see a therapist, reach out so that we can help you and we can support you.
In Fargo, Rose Itzkovitz, Valley News Live.
Research also suggests that using a SAD lamp for supplemental lighting can be helpful. Our experts say it's safer than tanning beds, which come with skin risks. In addition to these tips, we'll have more on ways to fight stress tomorrow morning on the Valley Today. National Guard students attending North Dakota colleges on ROTC scholarships are scrambling to find ways to stay in school after the Guard announced it could no longer fund its share of the program. Guard officials say the state no longer has enough money to cover a shortfall created by tuition increases and a decline in federal support. The cutback in tuition assistance hits ROTC scholarship students the hardest because that's their primary source of funding. The ROTC changes affect about 60 undergraduate cadets and 35 graduate students, most of whom attend North Dakota State University.
Oftentimes retirement press conferences can feel like a farewell, but for me, this one doesn't.
It's the end of an era for Twins territory. St. Paul native Joe Mauer is retiring after 15 seasons with the Minnesota Twins. It was truly a celebration of Joe Mauer's long 15-year career as a Twin. Many of his former coaches and teammates were on hand, from his high school days to his final years as a pro. The speculation started earlier this year that this could very well be Joe Mauer's last season.